Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, we're going to begin with a satellite animation here. This is an infrared satellite animation from Sunday's large low-pressure system. When you look at these images, pay close attention to the brightness of the colors. The more red they become here, the taller that those storms are and the colder their tops. And this was a pretty powerful system, spreading snow from Colorado all the way to Boston, bringing in bitterly cold air behind it, but much of our kind of weather news headlines were the severe storms that stretch from Mississippi all the way over to coastal Carolinas, even down into Florida early Monday morning. This was a powerful and quite vigorous low pressure system, and when it was all said and done, I just got to tip my cap to the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center. We in the U.S. have the best forecasters out there working for those two agencies, producing maps like this. The Storm Prediction Center honed in on Sunday on where the severe weather risk was going to be by issuing that enhanced risk, and the National Weather Service, a very busy day, issuing about 100 tornado warnings and 100 severe storm warnings, and you can see they pinpointed this quite well. Now, we talked about the severe weather threat in our videos last week, but it was really over the weekend that things really came together with the best wind shear profile to produce this. I'll tell you something, those 39 tornado reports were tragic to say the least, and that nearly doubles the number of reports we've had so far this year. So it's about time for us to start to get used to seeing images like this. This is probably the most powerful tornado of the day. They'll probably be doing a damage survey Monday into Tuesday to see how strong this one was. Here we are in Lee County, Alabama, and this is classic supercell structure. Here's the rear flank of the storm tucked away back here. Here's the main hook echo right there. That's the mesocyclone. There's the forward flank of the storm wrapping itself all the way back around. What was tragic about this is if you see those high rate of reflectivities just right there inside the hook, that is actually the debris signature as this tornado was throwing stuff around. Stu Ostro, a colleague of mine, produced an amazing image just to show you how wide and large and tall this particular tornado was here with this 3D volume rendering of this supercell thunderstorm. Folks, it's just that time of year. We got to get used to looking at images like this because they bring in these storms bring in some of the most destructive weather that we've got. Great thing to follow on Twitter if you're on Twitter. U.S. Tornadoes, they do a great analysis. I pulled off this screen grab of one of their tweets yesterday. Apparently, this billboard that you see here was picked up by that tornado that went through Lee County and thrown 20 miles. I'll be looking out on the day on Monday to see a little bit more verification of this, but 20 miles. Powerful tornado here. So far, through this time of the year, we've had 44 reports. Remember, we're about to double that number, though, with the reports we've had. The most active time period of the year, we're looking over the last 10 years for tornadoes, though, so it really starts at the end of March and gets us through early July. So remember, we're not even technically in to the deep part of the tornado season. Just a statistic to give you, though, our average tornado report count annually is about 1,400 reports. Last year, we were only at 75% of normal, so this is going to be a much more active year moving forward. Well, where those storms rolled through down here in the south, we picked up anywhere between 3/4 of an inch, on some locations approaching 3 inches. We had snow to the north of it, spreading from here all the way to Boston. In fact, I believe that Boston public schools are closed on Monday from the heavy snow. Before that, some snow that was here in the northern plains, and this whole system started by slamming into California first, a place that's been quite wet. And honestly, the pattern you see here, we're basically in a wash, rinse, repeat. I'll show you that in a few minutes. Just want to pick up on something with total snowfall of the last 3 days. You know, last time I talked about the different models we always look at, and I was surprised. I would have been smartest to go with a blend of models. The GFS did a much better job picking up on the high plain snow here in Colorado and parts of Nebraska and Kansas. The European model probably had the best track on this. And getting over to the East Coast, we're going to have to see on Monday how far to the north that heavy snow actually did spread with some of the bigger amounts. Both models picked up on this quite well, though, here in the northern plains. So I just want to show you your most recent snowfall there. As we get into the day on Monday, here's our all hazards weather map from weather.gov. You see the winter weather advisories tucked up here. This is actually not from snow that's currently falling. This is the fact that we may have up to 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts blowing the snow that's already there. Those lighter shades that you see getting pretty far to the south here, those are all wind chill advisories or wind chill warnings. We have freeze warnings down here in the south behind this thing, and that's going to be the name of the game as we start off this week. Our 0 degree line early Monday morning is here. Our freezing line is much farther to the south. And just to show you this in animation, you can already see the tight spacing of the isobars and the stronger winds just getting you through early Wednesday morning. That cold air is locked in place. But temperatures are rebounding. They will rebound throughout much of this week as our pattern finally changes in the Pacific. For most of us in the United States, the next several days are going to be quite calm. What you see here along the East Coast, this is the system that's exiting Monday morning. So this is gone. What you see right here in the Central Plains, that lighter snow from parts of South Dakota and Nebraska, maybe Iowa, Missouri, but certainly back into parts of Colorado, Wyoming, that's not going to get there until Thursday morning, which means much of this part of the United States is going to be quite dry to start off the week. High pressure dominates, very cold, but we're going to watch this coastal low hit California and eventually merge into the Great Plains, kicking off our next big system next weekend. So let's do that, okay? Whenever you see the flow like this, you got a deeper trough sitting here, that's cold air, but you can see the subtropical jet coming together. This region in that part of the jet stream flow tends to produce much higher than average pressure due to convergence aloft. But it's this this feature here which is far from tropical. This feature here sitting in the Gulf of Alaska is the one we're going to be watching pretty far to the south of that. It's north of Hawaii. It's going to be taking aim on California moving forward, and that's going to be our next major player for the whole of the U.S. So let's kind of watch it finally get there by Tuesday night into Wednesday. We can see the stronger onshore flow pumping in the moisture, so California and Intermountain West are going to be getting a lot of precip out of this one. Little ridge here out ahead of this, deeper troughs telling us we're going to be cool through middle of the week here in the eastern part of the United States. But watch as we get toward the weekend. The main wave finally ejects into the Central Plains, getting to the Four Corners really first by next Friday, really into Saturday morning. And we'll see throughout Saturday midday that this sharp little shortwave right in through here will be moving somewhere in the Central Plains. Now we're pretty far out in the forecast. This is a full week out, so the position and strength and timing of this will change. This is just the best guess we've got right now. Now the negative tilt on this trough takes it toward the Great Lakes, which means a lot of warm air advection out ahead of this, so quite a bit of warm air coming out ahead of this. And I just want to show you something. A little jet streak really invigorates here, taking this system here into the eastern part of Canada with warm air to its south on that one. But then, look at this. I told you wash, rinse, repeat. Here comes the next wave coming through by March 13th, 14th, somewhere in that time frame. This is way far out, so we don't know exactly its timing, but we're just seeing the same pattern kind of evolving here. So when we look at all of this, let's just take a glance here at what our operational European model looks like, at least through the next week here. First system exiting the East Coast, high pressure behind it, extremely windy northern plains. In fact, much of the center part of the country, very windy. As we play this out, maybe one of the only things that'll happen east of the Rocky Mountains here will be some lake effect snow with that colder air coming in on that higher atmospheric pressure. But look, I paused this Tuesday evening. Here's our next coastal low slamming into California. It moves into the Intermountain West. We start to see some snow in the Central Plains here by the time we get into early Thursday morning, right in through this area. Now the main wave, which is behind this, finally gets going here. We could see some warmer advection bringing in some scattered showers and storms really late Thursday night into Friday morning and Friday throughout the day, but that's not the main feature. The Intermountain West is packing up with snow. The main wave ejects right in through here, and we're going to go right back into the same thing we've been talking about. So now this is valid Saturday night, but again, severe weather threat to the south, heavy rain here. Our rain snow line looks to be somewhere on that Minnesota-Iowa border, and then snow's spreading to the north of that. This is kind of an open wave look as this system kind of moves through. And as I press play here again, we kind of see it spreading on off to the northeast. Picking up on precipitation type in the northeast is going to be tough with this system. Now I'm just going to show you this so that you see that the pattern's not slowing down. Next wave hits California here by next Tuesday. This is the following Tuesday. That ejects as well, and then we've got another low pressure system. So this is basically just to say the pattern is unlocked, it's unblocked, and it is moving. So when I show you the next week's worth of rainfall, let's look at the map on the left first. Remember that much of this that you see here isn't going to get here until really the end of the week next weekend. Again, more rainfall for people who do not want it. All of this up here is really going to be snow, but much of this isn't going to arrive until we get into next weekend. California takes it first on Tuesday into Wednesday, spreading into the Intermountain West by Wednesday. Looking at snowfall through the next 10 days, I'm going to do that up here. Probability from the European ensemble picking up 3 inches. You can see the snow line is pretty far to the north at this point. I think you can extend this back into Montana as well. And over the next week, picking up 6 inches. You can see the probability here in North and South Dakota, 30 to 50%, stretching into Minnesota as well. So our Great Plains snow map kind of looks something like that. I just want to remind you, when we look out west, our snow reporting stations, it's really only the stations in Washington that are still showing a small amount of deficit. But overall, the mountains are packed full of snow. And our last 30-day departure normal precipitation, just remember this, we've had this area wet. It's going to get wet again by the end of the week. More snow spreading in this area. And again, California, you're just going to continue on your wetter pattern here as the Pacific kind of unlocks and hits us. Now, what do I mean by unlocking the Pacific and unblocking it? We have been talking for so long about this Alaskan ridge. Are you ready? It's about to break down. We got a wave break that's going to happen there and shove it out of the way. Now, meanwhile, this is now Wednesday. Deep trough over the east, trough over the west, ridging over the Intermountain West. That's out ahead of this low that slams in right here. Now, as this spreads into the center part of the country, you can see the negative tilt on it like this, okay? Warm air out ahead of this one. We will see some warm air in the east. In fact, parts of the east may see 50 to 60 degrees of warming throughout the week just due to this pattern change. But look up in Alaska. We got a trough finally building into Alaska here, and that's just going to keep this pattern unblocked and very active. So whenever we see this is now valid middle of the month. Whenever there's a trough that's tucked away into here with a big ridge out east, this just tells me that this whole section of the country is under the gun for watching these big low pressure systems come sweeping across the country. So we're just not done with this yet. What's interesting, though, is that it looks like by the time we get to mid-month, we may go over to a positive, what we call P&A pattern. That's Pacific North American pattern. We're big, broad trough here, but look at the ridge with a trough out east, which may signal the warm-up for places that have been extremely cold. So I think we're about done with our Barney purples here. This is starting us off on Monday. Watch, as I play forward, we got warm air. There is some warm air coming out ahead of these next few systems on the eastern part of the country. And now our colder pattern here is really only a couple of degrees below average, not 10, 15, 20, or 30 degrees below average, which we've seen. So that's important. That's a relief from what we've been seeing because we're moving through March. We're picking up daylight hours, and we are also just getting the normal climatological warm-up coming with this. To finish this off, I just want to kind of point out, again, we'll be giving you a better longer range outlook here for much of the globe on Wednesday, but just want to point out, recently in Mato Grosso, while they still have this larger deficit, recently really picking up over the month of February here, a lot more heavier rainfall. So we've been talking about that. It's the same thing from Mato Grosso to Sol, and moving south of there. Wetter conditions in this area as of late, but they're still dealing with the longer term deficit. Getting down here pretty far south, Rio Grande do Sul, again, some big rainfall events recently keeping that area quite wet. But then in parts of Argentina, we have got a surplus of rainfall. We will be talking about on Wednesday what we expect to see here in the north central part of Brazil as we progress into the end of the month of March. But I'll give you an update about that in much more detail on my Wednesday update. So get onto mynutrienagsolutions.com to check that out. We're also going to provide a global kind of long-range update at that point as well. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions hope you look forward to these next videos we're producing this week. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.